Hello everybody. Before I work through the rest of the full sequence of the problems in the sequence game that we looked at, I want to highlight this one in particular, 15, because this is the one that I got frustrated over, goofed up on, frankly, in class. And it's embarrassing for me to, admit that, but nevertheless, it's a teachable moment, because it actually highlights something that I was stressing very strongly in class, and that is how you have to be so careful about what kind of deductions you are allowed to make based on your rules. For example, just look at this rule over here. Let's look at Rule 3. Right? It states that if I have this, then this must follow. If I have that, then this must follow. A common error is to go backwards. You look at, it kind of looks like they're opposites. Like, okay, if I have S9, then I can't have W. If I have W, then I can't have S9. But the trap is to think, like, supposing you had a scenario where you did not have S9, no S9 in there. A trap is to think, oh, well, that must mean I have W. Not necessarily. We don't have any specific information about what happens when I do not have S9. You always have to go from left to right when you make your deductions. So not S9 does not appear in this left-hand side here, so I cannot make any deductions just based on this rule. Not S9 appears over here, so I can make a deduction with Rule 4, but with just this rule right here, there's nothing that I can do. So if I do not have S9, it is illegitimate for me to assume that, therefore, I must have W. That was the mistake that I made with 15. The way that I set up the rules, I basically assumed that R and J were contradictory, in the sense that if you had R, you can't have J. If you had J, you can't have R. But that's not what the rule states. The rule does not rule out the possibility that you could actually have both of them. All that I know is that if I don't have R, I have to have J. And if I don't have J, I don't have R. But the rule does not say anything about what happens if you have J or if you have R. We have to be very careful about this. And that was my fault the other day for messing that up. So look at this. Let's try this rule, this question right here for a moment. So it says that we have to take these two courses, and which one of the following courses must she also take? Okay, but let's just, before we get into the must, let's just set this up a bit. So we know that there's supposed to be 4 courses that you're supposed to take, so I'll put those as the ins. And then there are that by the same game here, that there will be 4 courses that would be out, because there's a total of 8. So if I take stats at 3, and I take G, which one of the following do we have to take? Okay, well, what can we deduce from this? We know that if you can only have one statistics course. So that means I have to put S9 on the outs. I can't have S9 as well. And there's also a rule for G and W, right? If you take G, you can't take W. So W is also out. Well, that means we've got 4 candidates left. We've got 4 things possible. We could either have Japanese, J, M, R, and what's the other one again? I'm missing something still. Oh, P. J, M, R, and P. All right, let's see if we can eliminate anything further. And, well, first off the bat, we can looking at our answer choices, we know W is out, right? If we have G, then W can't be in there. That violates rule number 5. So we know that that's wrong. So then, but the rest of these, we can't eliminate anything further because these are all possible options. But if we look at this, we know that with rule 4, P, if we have P, it means we must have S9. If we do not have S9, we cannot have P. Well, we do not have S9. So that means we can't have P. So that's out. So that rules out this one. And then we got to J, M, and R. Now, think about what this means if we must take something. That means that if you must take it, that means if I put it in the out list, that we create a contradiction. Let's start with J for a moment. If I put J in the out list, does this create a contradiction? So if I put J here, well, I have to fill these 2 spaces, and there's only 2 courses left. I would have to put M and R in there. Does that create a problem? Well, let's see. If J is out, right? If not J, then we have to have R. Well, that's okay. That's fine. And then is there any rule that states with M? Well, we have, if you have J, you can't have M. If you have M, then it must be not J. So there's no contradiction there, right? This sequence here in the purple does not break any rules. So that would mean J is out. We do not have to take Japanese. this is where we got all discombobulated. Well, not yesterday, but the last time that we had class. Was it macro or Russian? Well, let's try this again for a moment. If it is, let's switch up colors here. Let's do it in the blue. So let's see. If macro is not essential, then I can put it down here. If we don't have to take it, I can put it down here, and then I would have then whatever was left up here would not create a contradiction. Well, if macro's out, then we have to put J and R up there. This is where I goofed. I had assumed, based on this, that you can't have R and J together, but that's not what the rule says. The rule does not say anything about what happens if I have J. It just says what happens if you don't have J. It does not say anything about what happens when you have R. It just says, well, here's what happens if you don't have R. So based on this, there is no contradiction with having J and R together. So that right there means M is not essential. We don't have to have it. And that's out. And that means Russian is the answer.